Anyone, you're
My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palm, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, eh? In diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In this edition of our show, we're going to be speaking with the chairman of the People's Action Party, that's PAP, Mr. Ahmed Sirleaf, who also happens to be the governance wizard of Focus on Liberia. This time, he's in his capacity as party chairman of the newly certificated People's Action Party. Welcome, Mr. Sirleaf.
Thank you, Dennis. We're not certificated yet, so we got clearance to go to convention, after which the party will be certificated. So don't get us into to have an infraction of the election guidelines. However, we've made tremendous progress. The certification is just the pending convention, so we'll soon get there. It's always a pleasure to be on FOL, Focus on Liberia. This is my home network. We've done some real good work here over the years, so I thank you and your team for continuing this work, educating our people, participating in the public square, pushing our leaders, to keep our country going. So I thank you for your service. And I like to thank all the viewers, all the listeners around the world, both in the diaspora and at home here in Liberia. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Sirleaf, and thank you for accepting the invitation to join us here, Focus on Liberia. We should have been on the radio, here Radio 95.9, but there's an issue with the radio station, so we are not on the radio, but we supposed to be there. At this time, they are having some technical issues, and so we couldn't be on the radio. However, we are happy to have you, and so we apologize to all your people that were expecting us to be on the radio. Things happen, and we are not there. I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If you have not already done so, please share the show, invite someone, and let us get started. Mr. Shelly, let me ask you, how is Morovia? How you doing? Everything doing Morovia?
Thank you, Dennis. Oh, look, Liberia is good. This is home. As they said, there's nowhere like home. It truly is so. Just the little things bring joy and pleasure to my heart. Listening to sights and sounds listening to, yeah, sights and sounds of our people. You go in the marketplace, you see how people doing their thing in the informal sectors, try to earn a bread, bread for their family. It's amazing, and you interact with people from all walks of life. It's good to be here, but of course there are challenges. The country could be doing better. We're not. We're making marginal progress. I'm sure we'll talk about those in the show. But being home and trying to contribute to participate in moving the country forward is a calling. And so I'm really honored to be here and to be doing what I'm doing at this point in my career. So yeah, I look forward to the conversation. But home is home, in many respects. The challenges, of course, some of the inconveniences, things that you're used to in Atlanta, where you are. You may not
Yeah.
readily have them. You have to apply extra efforts, maybe extra resources, or to have access to some of the basic necessities. But you figure out what to do, and that's why we're here. That's what we're doing, and what we intend to do.
Thank you. And again, welcome. And we want to welcome all our viewers to focus on Liberia, where we elevate the national conversation with clarity, courage, and commitment to truth. Tonight, we turn our spotlight to a rising political force, the People's Action Party. I like when they say uh, Singapore. And we're not going to go through that, but Lee Kuan Yew is someone the party talks about a lot in a landscape shaped by the ruling Unity Party and the major opposition Congress for Democratic Change. PAP says it offers something different, but what exactly sets the PAP apart? That's what we're going to be talking about. Joining us, Mr. Ahmed Sirleaf, the chairman of the People's Action Party, who will explore PAP's vision for governance, the economy, corruption, agriculture, infrastructure, and you name it. Mr. Sirleaf, thank you again for joining us. Let's start with the vision, right? Uh, let's start with that. Uh, let's get into the policy. We'll get into the policy later, but I want us to start with the vision for.
Hmm.
Let's begin with that big picture. What inspired the PAP formation, and what are the core values that define its destiny?
Hmm. Yeah, our vision, Dennis, is to create a wholesome society, a society where the people are not just thriving, a society where there's prosperity for all, a society where Liberians at home and abroad participating, contribute to, and really benefit from. One has to benefit from one's country, just as one ought to contribute to one's country. Citizenship is a double-edged sword. You have rights as a citizen, and you also have obligations. And so when society is doing well, everybody does well. Like, Paul Weston, former senator of Minnesota, who died in a plane crash, used to say, we do well when we do well. We do well when we all do well. It means individuals succeed and do well in their careers, in their businesses, and so forth when the society is prosperous, when the society is doing well, when the country is doing well. This is where PAP wants to take Liberia. Our vision centers around our people. The party is a people-centered party that we say we are a social, democratic, pragmatic, action-oriented party. You know that these are big words, but action in the party for a reason, because we believe a political party in a country like Liberia should be a year-round active party, running like a company, engage with the people around the country, bring job opportunities, to help to create a middle class, if you will, by training young people, whether it's vocational or academic and so forth, train our population so that you have an educated population. Now, this is a high-tech era, right? People are talking about what AI can do, making jobs obsolete, and here we are. We're struggling with the very basic things. So the vision for PAP, People's Action Party Liberia, is the rapid transformation of the country from where it is to a prosperous nation where all Liberians can be, can thrive. All Liberians can really succeed and be happy to be home and not just trying to get by
Mhm.
day to day.
So let's talk about the identity, right? Uh, some time ago, I wrote a piece saying, what distinguishes Liberal political party just faces. So when we think of, by the time you say UPP, you know where your mind is. The time you say
Mhm.
MDR, you know where the mind. So when we say PAP, what do you want us to see? What's the picture? What's that identity that you want to appear in our minds by the time we mention the People's Action Party?
Yeah, we want you to see a party that is in action, that is in motion, that's working in the community, moving young people from motorbikes, riding. The future is not motorbikes. Putting them in vocational institutions, putting them through universities, where you see new agricultural technology infusing, technology in agriculture, creating agro businesses, de-risking investment in the country. A party that is working with and for the people. That's really what PAP is about. When you go to Lofa County, you see PAP people are in action. You
Thank you.
see, you say that? I know there's a little delay, so you might experience that in during this broadcast. And so bear with me there. I was saying, really, the image of the party and what we're planning to execute after our certification. I know these things use some of what I would describe here are very lofty, very expensive, very capital intensive. So people ask the question. There's a lot of resources are needed to do what you want to do. Yes, it's true. To build a country like Liberia, to take it from where we are, the country is stuck. Then we need to unstuck the country. We need to stop going in circles and really get on a trajectory of progress, of development, of modernization of the country, of prosperity, so that our people are happy. I read a study recently that talks about that Liberia is a sad country. That says people are sad and worried. They're trying to figure out whether is still lingering effects or impact from the civil conflict, or is it just the sort of downtrodden nature of how the economy is, how unemployment, the rate of unemployment in the country, how people are struggling just to get by, have a square meal per day, if not 3 square meals per day, get their children through high school, through school, basic education. People struggle with these things. So how do you move a country from a sad state as it is, a people from this kind of downtrodden, abject condition to a place where people are happy? There's a thing called a prosperity index. There are countries that are marked as happy countries. Costa Rica, Japan, I think Switzerland. There's several countries that say people they're very happy because of the way their society functions. We may not be like Costa Rica does, on the happiness index at the high it is, but we want to move from this sort of degraded nature of the conditions of our people. We say, look, it's unacceptable, Dennis, to see people living in dirt around here. It's unacceptable that our
Yeah.
future,
So,
these young people, their future is to be motorbike riders around here, keke riders around here. I mean, this is a society we have, right? So PAP wants to,
Mr. Saleh, Liberians have seen many parties come and go. Sometimes we have 22, 27. I mean, those certificated, right? What do you say to what makes PAP not just another party? And how do you explain that to the market woman
yes.
at Jokwe Town or the
Mhm.
teacher in Pabli?
Yeah. Look, that is a very legitimate question, and I've been asked that question many times. Everywhere I go to talk to people in rural Mansurado or in Bassa or Margibi and Bomi, Cape Mount, places I've been so far, doing this party work. And here in Monrovia, you go to the marketplace, or when I do, which I do regularly, walk in the street, talk to the guys on the motorbikes and so on. People say, look, this is just another party. What makes you different? Why PAP? Why don't you join another political party? So these are very legitimate concerns and questions. What we've seen is in our country, Dennis, the culture of political parties here is one which focuses on one individual, an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. Maybe somebody wants to run for president, or they just want to make a name for themselves. They establish a political party. When that person is removed from the picture, the party dies down. There's no political party at all. Or a political party that is an electoral vehicle. By that I mean,
And what
they
is
sit
responsible
around.
for that?
Well, I'm coming now. Let me make sure I
Okay.
distinguish PAP, then I'll come to what's responsible for that.
Okay.
They sit around when it's election time, that's when the party becomes active. That's when the party, you hear people yelling, singing these battle cries and all of that. PAP is not about any of that, Dennis. PAP, our vision says, look, um, that's individualism. We want to build an institution, and that's my job as the organizing chair of this party, to really work with the organizing committee and the stakeholders that are involved with this party to build an institution that anyone can run. Anyone can be a chair or political leader, standard bearer, or hold any office at all, and like a machine, that it works because it's an inclusive institution. And I will explain later what are some of the things we're doing to ensure that exactly that is what will happen in the PAP. All right. So what is responsible for that? Our culture of the way we do politics in general is how we run the country. That's how we do governance in this country. For instance, the so-called imperial presidency, where everybody has to show face at the president's house. President arrives from abroad, everybody lines up. These kinds of things, face value, so that people see that you are there. That's sycophancy. Get to work. Your country is behind. We are so behind. I'm telling you, it's not even funny. You in this country, and you've traveled, you've seen what has worked in other people's countries, where things that people are talking about, where they're taking artificial intelligence and some of the things that they're now visualizing, that you and I can, you can be working in a workspace as though we're here, we're physically in the same space. These are the kinds of things that people are talking about. They're making certain jobs obsolete because of the advancement in technology, in communication, information technology. Yet we can't even figure out the basic things. So this party, we say we want to build an institution, and it will be an institution. Yes, you'll see some strong personalities in the party and around the party, because you have to sit on the old mat to plant a new mat, as they say. You ought to work with the people who are here, who are running things, who have been running things, okay? Some of whom people disagree with, some of whose politics people don't necessarily like. But these are our people. We are all Liberians. We're here to work, take action on the most basic things, the most pragmatic things can build nations. We've seen work
Thank you.
in other places. We want to bring them home.
Thank you. So the people that you are going to deal with, you are not going to manufacture your own people and bring them so as to train them do X, Y, Z, right? You talk about the culture. They, and I'll give you practical example, right? You get somewhere, the guys are around. They want to lift you up. They want to call you chairman. They want to call you excellency. They want to
Yeah,
sing and dance for you. What are you going to do? Because that's the culture.
that's the
How do
culture.
you
Mm,
how do you reorient, especially you are working with limited resources, the time?
mhm,
How do you kind of train everybody else? And that's
mm.
what other people are doing. The formula is working for them. If you do
Yes.
this, the CDC did it, the president. The
Hmm.
Unity Party did it, they succeeded. Mr. Cummings
Right.
didn't do it, he lost. So what are you going to do? Are you going to train? You're going to invent some people right there in your bombing and bring them? What are you going to
No.
do?
No, we're not manufacturing people. What we're doing, we're planting people. Instead, growing people. You can plant and grow people, which means you work on people's minds. Then it's about mindset shift. It's really what we need here. From the most basic uh, people do things that they know that are wrong, but this is what they've been used to. Just because you've been used to something doesn't make it right. The internet seems to be fluctuating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
come again. Well, asking what are you going to manufacture your own people? Mr.
yeah,
Cummings went somewhere. Let me give you. We are interviewing him. They later
yeah.
in the hammer instead of carrying him.
I
When you
saw
say
that.
you put me down, they get mad. You say you do
Yes.
this. What are you going to do?
And there was a bad optics for him. So what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, well, it takes time, right? It's not instantaneously things will change. Even in the party, as we've been organizing, we go to places. People want to do battle cries and say, "Well, say, okay, what is the POP ode? What is this special song or political sort of rallying kind of jingles or oaths, if you like, of the party? We have to design that. We're not getting rid of anywhere in the world, political parties, particularly doing campaigns or these kinds of activities. You ought to give people the opportunity and allow them to celebrate, to be happy. That's what you do, to energize people. It's not going to be a boring party. So some of the politics we're introducing as the PAP way, as the PAP, as an effort to gear towards mindset shift. People are uncomfortable with it. They challenge it and say, oh, this is politics. Or in Liberia here, you have to say this, you have to say this, you must do this, you must do that. I say, I understand that. We know that. That's what has been happening here. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that has worked. uh, be open to some new ideas. Okay, so we will allow people to do some of what they've been used to as we educate them, as we show them by examples how this may not be the appropriate thing to keep doing. Gradually, you got to win people out of certain culture, certain what is political party culture, or how they perceive public service, or how they run the government. These are things that will take time. Okay, so I'll give you some typical examples. I got on the radio here one time, and they asked me to grade the current administration. And I talk about some things that I believe the government is doing well. And there are others that I say, in fact, first of all, I premise my conversation by saying PAP will be a partner in solutions, that we're not coming here to be agitating, insulting president or current officials. And no, we are about the people. We are for the country. We're here to take action to change our country's conditions, to change the conditions and the lives of our people, which we say they are unacceptable. We can't just sit around and accept what's going on in this country. To do that, we will partner with anyone, any Liberian, be a political party or an existing administration, a current administration. We will partner with you. They say, "What? Are you an opposition? And you coming to partner with somebody, with the government, for instance?" And I went on and explained. I said, "Look, PAP will have, first of all, we have our party structure, a National Research Policy Bureau, right? We say Policy Research and Planning. And then we have other organs that are very unique about PAP. So that when the government has a national development plan or an agenda, our party does the research. We have our own vision for how the country will develop, how to do public investment for instance. So if the government makes mistakes or there's gap or they trip on something, we're not just coming to criticize without solutions. We will advance solutions. We want to engage in dialogue because we are coming with a positive mindset, a growth mindset, a mindset which says, look, let's work together to build our country. We can do it. We don't have to have the same political ideology or the same political vision or be in the same political party. There are ways to do that instead of the acrimonious politics and tearing one another, insulting one another, and then go in the sycophancy that accompanies that going nowhere. It has done nothing for us in 178 years, or 78 now, I think, or 79. I am blinking on that. But we are an old country with big history, heavy history, yet we are lagging behind, Dennis. So there are some things that, of course, we will be doing to change people's mind and to make them to begin to think about, how you work in government, or
Right.
should you even work in government? Is that the only way to build your country? These kinds of things.
So now, if I'm an undecided voter, and I have the CDC, the Unity Party,
Yeah.
and the PAP, what will make me want to join the PAP instead of the CDC or the Unity Party? Talk to me as an undecided voter.
Well, first of all, as an undecided voter, you've seen there's something that's made you undecided at this point because you've seen the CDC in action, what the CDC delivered for you or didn't deliver for you. You've seen Unity Party in action, two previous administration. Now this is the third administration. This is the third administration. So you've seen them in action. They've made promises. They've gone around on campaign trails and made promises to our people. Did they deliver on those promises? No, they didn't deliver on those promises. What they did was marginal changes, very marginal changes. That's what I've been saying around here. Some will say, oh, look at they fixed that bridge. They fixed this little road here. They didn't even pave the road. They don't have, they say, well, they're making the roads pliable and these kinds of things. So as an undecided voter, we're saying, look, we're offering a new direction. We're here to offer a new vision for the country, one that is pragmatic, one that takes the practicality of things that grow people, that provide jobs, that changes the agricultural sector, make it attractive as an investment opportunity, as a place a young person should go to work after college or after vocational school. This is a party that's here that will be building vocational schools around here or partnering with existing institutions to ensure that young people learn trade. They have skills. Those that can go that route, they go that route. Those that can go to university, they go to university. But we want to institute science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education in a way that builds an educated workforce, an educated population that can compete. That's how you build a country. Meanwhile, you're focusing on the bread, butter, palm butter, rice issues, right? Everyday issues that people are able to live in dignity and live with dignity, create jobs, and really ensure that the economy is performing. There are things that you do in the immediacy,
So let's be practical a little bit more again. What this neither the CDC nor the Unity Party did not deliver on that you will do different, that you will deliver on. I want us to pinpoint specifically, say, well, they didn't do this, and this is what I would do differently. And we will go one by one in the policy, but I just give me a broad thing that says specifically, they didn't deliver this time.
Dennis, neither of these two parties you've mentioned has demonstrated a bold, ambitious vision for this country. What they've shown us is they have limited vision for the direction of the country. You have a country in your
example.
Well, you say broad picture, then I will come to examples. So let me lay my premise, and then I'll give you some specific example. You see, the Martin Luther King said the urgency of now. It's lacking that urgency, that drive, and they say, look, for instance, we've been saying for years, the whole country, like Liberia, that's just poor, they're struggling, that our budget is a rent-seeking budget that people distribute money among themselves, recurrent costs around 700 and 800 million. Next thing we know, they say now we're giving you $1.2 billion budget, for instance. That budget they will not solve any problem because it's the same old budget as if it was 800 or 900 million. Why? Because what they're presenting to the people is not realistic. CDC did the same thing, right? The PAPD. And now we're seeing the AID. They have a public sector plan in there. When you look, you study the budget, the 2026 draft budget, for instance, that the president has submitted to the legislature, it just makes you sad. These people put money there and say, okay, there's this one-time signing bonus from this concessionaire. Okay, we 200 million. We'll put in the budget. It will help us to get to $1 billion just for the sake of argument. You do that, but it's a budget that it just distributes money amongst the elites. What's allocated for the legislature? What's allocated for the judiciary? What's allocated for the various offices and sectors of the executive branch of government? It's all money for them. It's not money for service delivery. For instance, education is underfunded. Agriculture is underfunded. MCSS alone, Monrovia Consolidated School System, at least culturally looking at the budget, I haven't really studied this thing in depth. As somebody in the road I'm playing now, of course, this thing comes out, you got to look at it, you got to read it quickly and have some familiarity with the various sections and what's in there, right? And then listen to the experts who are analyzing and sharing their part. That's what we've been doing, having conversations in our party and outside of the party. There's nothing new in there, Dennis. We're asking for a budget. If you say, I give you $1 billion budget, $2 or $5 billion budget, 80% of that should be money that is shifting towards development. Let the budget shift towards development, public investment, serious development that extricate the country from where it is. Are you paving these roads? They say we don't have money. We have to go around to beg for money, to beg the Kuwaitis, to beg the Japanese, the Chinese. So somebody's fixing the bridge from Gabriel Tucker to Bongmai's Bridge or Simpor Bridge. It's not Liberian money. Somebody's fixed the road from Freeport to Red Light. That's not Liberian money. Our government can't even maintain that road, which someone else built for them. They say, okay, Banga Menikoma Road that has been there since I was a teenager. They've been talking about. Okay.
You said teenager since you were not born.
I was not born. They've been talking about paving that road. They're looking for Kuwaitis to come give them money. These are just examples. Where is your ambition? The length of your ambition is what? To have a $1 billion budget that distributes among yourself and deceive your own people. You have budgets. You have how are you gonna fund on the revenue mobilization side, for instance? Now look at it. Where is that money coming from? This is not sustainable. What you're presenting to us, that's deception. And then you have the AID that is telling us, look, we need I don't know if it's 8 billion or so to really implement this for the duration of this administration. We know we don't even have a fraction of that money. We'll say 80% plus of that will be funded by donors and asking others to come to. Are you serious? I mean, is that how to build a country? You're going nowhere, Dennis. Until you can get a hold of your own country's growth and development, you will keep spinning in circles. So we're bringing new ideas. The PAP is here to say, look, we've done this for ages. We've gone nowhere. Let's bring some new ideas, put these ideas in action. Things that we've seen work in Asia. We've seen work in other parts of Africa. We've seen work in Europe or in Central America, in Latin America. Let's bring some of these ideas. We're very specific about them. Although we're not a registered party yet, to say we've begun implementing in programs, or now we're really doing the things that we've said that we're doing in our party. We haven't reached there yet. We've gotten our clearance from the National Elections Commission. We've met all the preliminary requirements to take the party to its maiden convention, its first national convention, where the party elects its officials and submits that list slate of officials to the Elections Commission. Once we do that, then they give us our certificate. So the certificate, we are the ones between our certificate and ourselves, because we're saying, look, we want to do the convention properly, so that it commensurate with what we've been saying that our party is and will do. To do that, you got to decentralize the party around the country,
Thank you.
build structures so that if you went to Zwedru, you meet PAP people there, you'll be talking to them as though you're talking to Ahmed Sirleaf in Monrovia. If you went to Kakata somewhere, that's what we're doing across the country as we, do other administrative work like cleaning up and restoring our party headquarters and planning. So we're planning for the convention and such. That's what we're focusing on now. But at the same time, it's not lost on us that we are an opposition party. We are a party that wants to introduce new things, new ways of doing politics, new ways of governing, bringing new ideas and ideas. We're saying
Thank
we
you.
have a different radical vision for the country. It will take radicality to really get Liberia out of where it is. And that's what PAP is introducing. So you, as an undecided voter, we will present these very pragmatic ideas to you. We hope and believe that as a rational person, you'll say, this is the party of the future. Liberia's future lies with the People's Action Party.
Thank you. So let's go to policy contrast, and how is PAP approach to economic development fundamentally different? I know you touched on that a little bit, so you can give me 1 minute. How is that fundamentally different from? And tonight I'm going to repeat.
The line is very bad.
Oh, let me go again. Can you get me, Clara?
Yes, better now. Thank you.
Okay, Anthony Wigan and from Saniquale City, welcome to the broadcast. And Suke Sirleaf in Pinsville, also want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. I was talking about policy contrast, right? How is the PAP's approach to economic development that is fundamentally different from the Unity Party and the CDC? And I'm going to be stressing Unity Party and CDC because these two parties have dominated our political landscape since 2005. So tell me that approach that's going to be fundamentally different from the two political parties.
Dennis, I'm going to be honest and transparent as I've always done, as I've always been, because as a party that is preaching institutionalism, that is instituting institutionalism, you ought to be honest, and because your integrity is what anchors. That's what the party is anchored on, right? So we are a party in its infancy, if I may say. I just explained that while we gotten clearance from the Election Commission, we haven't gone to convention yet. We're planning our convention for March next year, giving ourselves time to decentralize the party, to build structure around the country, talk to people, recruit folks, and really focus on recruiting technocrats, all kinds of people from all sectors. If you think of the agriculture sector, we want to recruit experts from there. You think about public administration and governance and government, we recruit people from there. Energy sector, that's what we're doing systematically as we build structure right now. We're focusing on that, focusing on fixing our party headquarters, and then planning for our convention. Those are the things that are taking our attention at the moment. However, as I've said many times, and I'll say here again, the way we're approaching political party politics and governance is we're saying, look, let's build structure that will allow us to do the kind of economic development work that we want to do for the party, for instance. To do that, you really ought to understand the problem fully. We as Liberians, all of us, educated people, not educated people, informally educated people, we all know our problems. But some of the problems are technical problems that require technical solutions. Some of the problems are leadership failure that require leadership that can bring people together, inspire people to really get to work. Okay, some of the problems require the mindset shift, right? Really work with people to stop doing things the way they've been doing. Some practical example, people go to public sector here. In fact, it's the largest employer. People believe that they ought to go to public sector, whether in the legislature or the judiciary or in the executive branch of government, to get rich, because they know no other way to make money. They've failed their country, and their country therefore has failed them. Okay, so to change some of that, you ought to put in uh, a, a mechanism in the party that studies the issues, that produces uh, maybe not a parallel structure, but have their own vision to say, look, you have the AID. Here's the PAP development development plan for, I don't know, 30 years or 60 years. Let's look that far. Because Liberia, the problem we have then is every administration comes to office, they carve out their own development plan for the country. Really, there's no public sector policy, as I speak to you now, that says this is how we coordinate across. Even the AID, the inclusive agenda, the arrest agenda for inclusive transformation, inclusive
Development.
development. Everybody says that they're implementing the AID, right? But how are you coordinating across various sectors that are similar? How are you avoiding working across purposes or even overlapping functions and things like that? You ought to have a public sector policy that cuts across various sectors and various institutions. We do not have that at the moment. What you have is various ministries and agencies and commissions, some of them, not all of them, if at all, have a strategic plan, maybe 5-year strategic plan and whatnot. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that is not enough to do the kind of economic development work that needs to be done, the kind of modernization work of the country that needs to be done. That is not enough. So these are the kinds of things that we're thinking about. You recruit the right people from all sectors, and then you organize the institution in a way that has mechanisms to work and think and produce action that solve problems. These are the kinds of things we're putting in place as we build a party. We believe when we get there, we become fully registered political party and begin to implement
You're
these
not there yet.
programs. It will be very obvious. It will be very obvious to Liberians that this is a different kind of political party.
So on governance and public trust, what structural reforms will the PAP implement that the UP and the CDC did not or failed to pursue?
You and I know public trust. A matter of public trust is a security question. When you say that, people say, "Huh? What do you mean?" So let's take rule of law for example. How people fragrantly violate laws in this country. We have the laws on the books and everything, but if you're a big shot or uh, you have money, you're in government, you have big position, the law doesn't apply to you. That kind of thing. Okay, and then you develop a budget that you allocate to yourself. You distribute it among yourself. Our people are not stupid. They're saying that. Of course, they will not trust the government. They will not trust these officials. They don't trust the CDC. We saw what CDC did here. Map up operation, harmonization, the kind of policy that they engage in. They weren't policies that address they weren't pro-poor at all. Actually, they just had a slogan, but they didn't follow it. They didn't believe in it. They didn't know what pro-poor meant and how to institute that. Okay. In our party, we're saying People's Action Party is a People's Center Party. Social democratic means we focus on the needs of the people, the most pragmatic needs. But it's not going to be a social welfare party where you hand out things to people for free. And I mean, every day. You're empowering people. You're pulling them out of poverty. These are the kinds of actions that PAP will be taking. On the governance side, you really ought to look at the institutions that you have. Some of these institutions that are obsolete, they haven't built the country, they're not going to build the country. Something that didn't work for the last 100 years is not going to work now or in the future. And so we ought to really introspect and say that again.
No, you said some are obsolete. I want you to give me examples.
Yeah, I mean, look at all these SOEs, state-owned enterprises. Look at LEC, for instance. If you really want to industrialize a country, look, Dennis, I teach development practice and policy to graduate students. I studied that stuff. I studied policy analysis or I studied government. Okay, uh, uh, they tell you about statecraft. If you truly want to build a nation, you look at various models that have worked in different regions in different countries. What did they do? Because you ought to take every society as a unique society, as a unique people, as they are, right? And Liberia is a unique society. Our people are unique and have unique cultures. However, as human beings, we have similar or same needs. If you went to Thailand, the people have need for electricity. If the development work that needs to be done is energy intensive, you invest in that. Look at Ethiopia. They realized in order to really get their country to where it ought to be, the projects that needed to be undertaken were energy intensive projects. And they had access to the Nile. It was right there. They said, look, we want to build a dam that we're calling the Renaissance Dam that will change this country forever. These international people in Washington and other places, Brussels and so London, they said, no, you can't do that. Of course, the Bretton Woods institutions are European and American institutions that weren't meant to develop Africa. They were meant to rebuild Western Europe. They say, well, we'll not give you the money. We can give you, Ethiopia said, we'll source the fund ourselves. All right. They carve out different funding model that raised billions of dollars and constructed a dam. They've commissioned it now. They're moving their country forward. These are the kinds of bold, ambitious, big sort of future thinking that we're talking about. These people have a 60-year plan. Dennis, what do we have? 5-year. Madam Sirleaf was there. She came to say poverty reduction strategy. In policy, we call it policy study. We call it it's called policy transplantation.
Yeah, we have some issue there.
Hi, my name is Addie Tyler from Pennsylvania, and you're watching Focus on Liberia.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news. Please.
Welcome back. This is Focus on Liberia. Our guest, Mr. Ahmed Sirleaf, he's the chairman of the People's Action Party. Lend your thoughts, Dr. Mr. Sirleaf and then Mr. Sirleaf, and then we can go back to the next question.
Yeah, these are some of the infrastructural challenges I'm talking about, and energy intensive projects, right?
And the question we're asking about public trust and what are some of the structural reforms that the city, that the PAP.
Yeah, well, public trust. What I'm getting at, Dennis, is you start working for the people. You're taking bold actions that our people are not stupid. They understand. They know that these people are here. They're working for us. They're working for our future. They're working for our children's future. That's how you win trust. Look, citizen-state relationship is about delivering, meeting your side of the social contract. If you have the opportunity to govern, to lead your people, you have a social contract that we all learn in our civic lessons, right? So the citizens, they say we are in a representative democracy. Everybody can go to Capitol Hill. Everybody can sit in an executive mansion. Let's appoint people. Let's elect people and send them to represent us. You truly ought to represent your people. And that representation includes working in the interest of the people, not for yourself. You're not taking all the money for yourself. You're not engaging in practices that enriches you. The people see it. There's poverty, the lack of jobs in the country. They're struggling around here. And then they see you driving nice cars. You have, I don't know, 15 cars in your convoy. and everybody got to pull off the road because you're coming, and the people see that, and so where would the trust come in? And then they say, oh, don't go to court if you have a problem, because the judges will take kickback, and whoever pays the highest kickback will get justice.
So what
That's
will PAP
not
do?
public trust. People will not trust because. Say that.
So what will PAP do?
Well, PAP will clean. PAP will clean up the system. Dennis, look, we don't
And
have the
how do
magic.
we believe
Hold on,
you,
hold
right?
on now. Hold on. You ask the question, and please give me the
Yeah,
opportunity.
because if
Look,
you say PAP will do this, I mean, what
and
can
then
I
I'll
look
begin
at?
to explain.
Okay.
So that's how. When I say something, you ask. That's not all of the answer. Give an opportunity to give you examples and real concrete examples, because you keep interrupting like that. I'll give half answers, and that's the takeaway. People go away say, "Oh, PAP chairman says this." The thing is, it takes time to change people's way of thinking, their mindset, that mental model shift. Of course, we're not here to say we have all the solutions. We have the crystal ball in our hands, and we have the panacea. We come in 2 years, 5 years, the Liberia's problems are solved, the country is prosperous, our people's conditions have changed. It will take time. The Asian tigers, what Mahathir Mohamad and others did in Malaysia, what happened in South Korea, in Japan, in Singapore. These people, it took time, but they were deliberate. They have medium-term plans. They have long-term plans, some of them 30 years. They envision their country to be an upper middle income country, industrialized, prosperous country, technologically advanced country, an educated population. They said, let's invest in education. What kind of education? They identified, look, we need people who know computers, people who are engineers, people who can build, who are architects, these kinds of skill set. And they invested in their young people. What are we doing? We have our young people on the motorbikes around here, on pen around here. These are our future. This is our future. So PAP, what will PAP do differently? We're saying first of all, we don't accept this. Let's undo what's happening here, and then begin to work with our people, re-educate people, train our young people, take them from the backs, give them because they're on the backs because there are no jobs. The economy is terrible. People are suffering. Of course, they have to survive. You ought to do what you ought to do to help your grandmother, your auntie, and so on, if you're a young person, at the expense of your education and your future development. These are some of the things that we're going to be changing. How we do that, we talk about vocational education, technical education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics education, and agriculture innovation. Because Liberia is blessed with the land, we can really attract people to agriculture in ways that haven't happened in this country before. There are many ways to do that, but this is the vision that the party is coming with. Dennis, is a party of action.
Right. And you touch on, I'll skip the state-owned because you talk about it a little bit. But let's get to corruption, right? Corruption has been the Achilles heels of successive governments. What specific anti-corruption mechanism will PAP introduce in its first 100 days? And let me premise that by saying, when the Joseph Boakai government took over, they talk about the asset recovery, we're all clapping. The ombudsman, the what was the other one? LACC, in fact, revamped, and all these different things, right? And even the war crimes, economic crimes, but we see that, right? But from what we see, and I was here talking with some justice expert on the case involving Finabondo, right? Asset recovery said we got 6 million, and in the indictment, it's like, okay, we are indicting for the 2 persons, you money laundering and all that. That indictment could not really say this is where you stole the money from. They were trying to give us something to say, hey, you turn money this way, you are doing money laundering. But they didn't really tell us this is where you stole the money from before you start to do the money laundering. So you could see, what legal experts are telling me is case like this is not going to go anywhere, because you may not be able to prove that they got the money illegally before kind of trying to launder it. What I'm asking you is,
you
so from what we see after 2 years, these anti-corruption things that we really thought were going to work, they may not work. What is the PAP going to do differently to fight corruption? Because this is killing us, man.
Yeah, look, corruption is an intractable problem across many societies, not just in Liberia. I'd say that. However, what people do is they institute policies that reward people who are competent, qualified to do the work of the people. The people's work, and then you prosecute people at the highest level. You lack them in Singapore, for instance, where we got inspiration from their own People's Party, People's Action Party of Singapore. What they did was they said, look, okay, we're educating our people, we're training our people, we invite you to come work in the public sector. You come, we pay you well so that you don't steal. If you steal, however, we are going to prosecute you and lock you up and disgrace you. They started doing that with ministers, very high level officials. I mean, they did that 1 or 2 times. People fell in line. They said, look, all right, this is not worth it because I'm doing well. I'm making enough money. I don't have to go take plunder the public trust, public fund. Okay. And that's the kind of thing that PAP is thinking about. You have laws. You have anti-corruption laws and institutions. You have integrity institutions around here. We're not in shortage of, any of that. The problem we have is the selective justice. There's half-baked justice. There's no justice if there's any attempt at all. Okay, so you say you will prosecute somebody. You're going after them. You suspect that they squandered, public resources or they amass wealth in ways that they can't explain. The law is there to back you, but follow through with fairness and due process. You see, in law, they talk about due process has two elements. You have substantive due process and procedural. Even the procedural with the way you were describing. Okay, they said this. We want to know where the money came from, and how can you tie that to money laundering and all of that? The person has right just because you suspect, you have probable cause, or you suspect that they can't be this rich on their own terms. They couldn't have made this money in the private sector. They can't explain it, and therefore they are corrupt. You may have some reason to believe that, but you also have to show enough evidence that this is the case, so that you're able to bring it before a grand jury, so that you're able to take this to court and have a jury or a judge listen to it and allow the person to defend themselves. Okay, so it's cut across not one party, not one administration or one set of people against the other set of people. That's why we haven't gotten anywhere. So what PAP will do differently, I don't care who it is. We see that you're stealing money, you're engaging in corruption. The consequences, the weight of the law will bear on you. These are the kinds of examples you ought to set to change mind, that mindset shift that I was talking about earlier, so that people don't see the public sector as a place where they think they can just come and get wealthy by stealing resources, by working for themselves, not working in the interest of the people. That's where we really have to work hard to change that. People have public government vehicles around here. You go to funerals, you see government vehicles lined up on the weekend at around 9 or 10 o'clock around here in Pinsville. You're driving, you see government vehicles all in front of you. People carrying their private things all in it. Why? I mean, we're a small, poor country. How can you do that to yourself? It's about mindset, entitlement. People believe that once you appoint Dennis Jar as something, you assign a vehicle to him, he owns this vehicle, he does with it what he wishes to do with. No one is telling them this is really wrong, because it doesn't belong to you. And what doesn't belong to you, you can't use it just anyhow you want to use it. So on the one hand, you compensate people. you compensate people commensurately, attract talents, pay them well, find the resources to pay them, and then on the contrary, when they go and steal and engage in corruption, you punish them so severely that the next person will not find corruption attractive.
Thank you. You were talking about that card. Even that card, you misuse it after 3 years. That means it depreciates to zero. So you sell it to yourself.
Yes.
You sell it to yourself.
Uh-huh.
But let me ask you about agriculture, right? Liberia imports 80% of the food that we eat, right? What is the PAP plan? Again, I'm coming to our overall topic is here is what set the PAP apart. Now we are importing 80%
and I like that.
We eat. Right.
Mm-hmm.
How would the PAP make agriculture the driver of growth and food security? 80%, I mean, think about it. 80% of what we eat is imported.
Yeah, beyond that, everything we wear, everything we put on our body and put in our stomach, we don't grow them, we don't make them, we don't manufacture, we don't grow anything, we don't manufacture anything, we don't fix anything.
So how would the PAP make agriculture the driver of growth and food security?
Yeah, I began the conversation, by saying, look, you ought to make agriculture an attractive sector, attractive for investment, foreign direct investment, be they Liberians from the diaspora, Liberians at home. First of all, Dennis, you have to make the society amenable to invest. They call it de-risk investment. How you de-risk investment, you demonstrate that Liberia is an investment destination. You can come to Liberia, you invest in the agricultural sector, invest in the tourism sector, invest in the energy sector. There are opportunities here, and you'll be protected by our law. No one government official will come here and engage in some unethical behavior of an investment partner somewhere. You're scaring investors away. So that's the place to start from. You want to attract investment in the agriculture sector, new technology, different ways of growing. I saw a presentation. We're talking to some Chinese partners, and they were showing us how you could turn cassava into pusawa rice. Have you ever read that, Dennis?
No.
Look at our country. We grow cassava here, right? Everywhere you go, Cape Bank, Bapulu,
even when you throw the stick away, it grows.
Yeah. So Nigeria exports cassava to China, so that the Chinese have invented a machine that turns. I'll send you the video. I have it in my WhatsApp here. That turns cassava into the pusawa rice that people eat here, import here to Liberia. Do you believe that? So what makes you think PAP can go plant a cassava factory somewhere in Lofa County, somewhere in Nimba, strategically in the southeast, in the western part of the country, and then empower local growers? That's agricultural innovation, And then you're creating value chain so that there's agro-business value chain. By that I mean, it's not just the person who is growing the cassava, but that cassava, you add value to it, you're processing it, turn it into rice or something else, some other product, right? You have to hire people to work at the factory. You have to hire people to work on the farm. You have to hire people to work on storage and transportation, getting to market, all of these things. This is your creative job. You were talking about economic development. That's economic development. That's job creation. That's agricultural sector. These things are now, you can't, decouple them and say, let's just talk agriculture separately. Let's talk the budget separately. Let's talk economic development. They are interlinked if you plan well. So, I started by giving a disclaimer that we're a party that is in its infancy. We're forming. We have ideas. We're building institutions and structures that will implement these ideas. We haven't gotten to a stage where we're now writing policies and saying, here's PAP version of AID. Here's PAP's vision for decentralization. Here's PAP's vision for this. What we're doing is we're recruiting people from all these sectors because our vision is, look, we have to tackle this. This is the way to tackle this. When we get there, XYZ will be in place. So I'm saying this to say, look, I won't give you a polished answer for all the policy questions you're asking, but we have ideas, and therefore we're building the institution in such a way that it will deliver on these ideas, turn them into actions.
Thank you. And I'm not going to push you to give me, more prescriptions here, but I would say, and I'm getting somewhere. I'm setting something up here that will come, right? So let me ask you about rules. Rules remain a major barrier to trade, right? Rules. I mean, I can't get to Dudwick and Mr. Sharia, and Mr. Sullivan, we grow some good stuff there. What is PAP National Infrastructure Priority List? And when you finish giving me that, the next question will be, how will you fund it? So don't talk about the funding yet. I have one more, it will be drugs. And then you will tell me how you will fund it. So keep talking about these lofty ideas. It's coming. Go ahead. Rose.
Yes. Look, we do this interview next year, God willing. At the same time next year, around about the same time, we'll have a different kind of conversation, Dennis. By then, we would have been certificated. By then, we have done building the structure of our party around the country. We have our people in place. By then, we're building international connections. We're doing study tours. We're looking at different countries, different sectors, things that have worked in the region here on the African continent, things that have worked in Asia, things that have worked in Latin America. These are the kinds of things that we're putting in place. We're talking about how you're going to fund it, what kind of partnership, what kind of investment opportunities you're attracting. You have to systematically build a party, build an institution that is able to deliver on these kinds of things. Okay. So infrastructure, look, they tell you here growth, every World Bank report, every Liberian government development plan that I've read in this country talks about roles as a constraint, a binding constraint. They call it binding constraint to growth. That means this is a constraint. If you don't remove it, you can't get to growth. Just like energy as a binding constraint.
No, I said to health, education, trade, role is the barrier. Oh, we're still having some technical issues here. All right. Welcome back. The question of roles, as I said, roles remain a major barrier to trade, to health, and education. What will the PAP do, or what is the PAP's infrastructure, national infrastructure plan? And that's totally different from the CDP or the UP.
It's totally different. Pave the roads, Dennis. Connect the country. Don't tell me you're making the roads pliable. That's the English they speak around here. We're making it. It used to take how many hours to Grand Jury? 2 days to go to Grand Jury, to go to Maryland. Now people go 6 hours because the dirt road. We've made it possible. Basically, this is the 21st century. pave your look. I spent a week or 2 weeks in the Gambia recently, and I travel around the people's country a little bit. Almost every village I went to, there's quotas, paved road. I drove with some friends who came from Europe and the US, met in the Gambia, and they invited me there. We went to that village, Dennis. We drove for 4 hours on paved roads, entered that village with the road paved to the village. These people have electricity there. They have nice, country people on the countryside. They have the vehicles. Why are they small Gambia, right? That got independence recently. But look at us. So our point is, when you talk about paving road, they say, but we don't have the money. We don't have the money. We have to source the funds. We have to talk to the Kuwaitis, talk to the Emiratis, talk to the Japanese. That kind of beggar development. Look, when I was in high school in Sierra Leone, I'll tell you a quick story. I had a principal called Paul Abdul Sharif, Peninsula Secondary School. So we were the refugee students who would go to school in the afternoon, and the Sierra Leonean people's school, the students there, they will leave their school, and then we come and take over their school, right? And so we're in the student government. When our sponsors are coming on campus, we write speeches. They choose me to deliver the speech in front of the Council of Churches of Sierra Leone. Our speech, refugees, people, your students, your speeches are all beggar. So everything at the end of the speech, Mr. Sharif said, he said, Ahmed Sirleaf, that beggar speech where you go give everything without they ask for this, without they ask for that, without they ask for this. You can't run a country beggar like you go beg these people for this, you go beg. The little resources the country has, you take it for yourself. And then you want other people to develop your country, you're going nowhere. Until we can nationalize our natural resources. The models are there. Others have done it. Somebody said it somewhere. Someone said, well, I never heard that. What do you mean by that? We already own the resources. How do we nationalize it? You actually nationalize the resources. You create a system so that the number of things happen to benefit, you get the maximum benefit to the people out of your natural resources. So that you have enough money. You have no excuse not to pave your roads. Dennis, you say, look, let's do profit sharing as Salamita, you're here, or whichever concessionaire coming to my country to try to exploit iron ore or diamonds and oil or whatever they want from Liberia. Okay? We say, let's do it in such a way that Liberia gets 40% of the profit. Why do they care billions of dollars and they give us some chicken change and we think that we have money? And then they say they want to do clinics and community roads, community schools, that corporate social responsibility. Spare me that. Let's have a model that shares the profit. Money stays of Liberia. You manage that in such a way that you have no excuse not to not pay for your roads. You fix your road, you connect your road, and then you transform your energy sector. You will take it off. Your country will take off. That's how growth happens. Remove those so-called binding constraints, which is the roads connect the country, and then have affordable electricity that people can have access to. Even people in the rural areas can have access to. That way, you are making doing business in Liberia a lot easier. Somebody can say, now I want to bring a garment factory or some kind of light manufacturing something here to hire Liberians, give them jobs, give them opportunities. They know that the overhead will be manageable, right? If they're not going to pay 60% of their revenue to maintain, to keep the light on. They do that, the place is not attractive for investment if you do that kind of. So the point I'm making is there are things to do right here in our country to raise money from Liberia, by Liberians, for Liberians, and build the country up. That's the ambition that's not there. And the people are not working on it. They're doing marginal little things. They do little things, the whole big ceremonies around them. This has taken us, Totman did it, President Barclay did it, and President Torba did his, he was a little more progressive. He says he wants to take us from mat to mattresses and total involvement for higher height. They were moving in a particular direction. You may criticize that president or not, but he was a progressive president. The Tubman, this will say Tubman was the one who opened the country and really built public buildings, public institutions. Okay, that was their time. Such was the era. Now in the 21st century, when people are doing big things, machine learning. We're sitting down here. We have no roads to go to the village. We have no proper electricity. We have no real serious plan for major public investment. And we're celebrating a $1.2 billion budget that is only going to be allocated among the elites. That's why we're saying PAP wants to break these kinds of ways of thinking and doing, running a government to real practical ways that will help the country.
My last policy question was going to be on drugs, but since you talk about little things, did you see the president in the bus and the little fan over here and you were waving? I was looking empty. Yeah, talk to me about that.
Yeah, sometimes I'm afraid, look, some of my friends in the government, sometimes they take the president to places that really doesn't help with this citizen public trust, with this public trust issue. And you take the president somewhere in an underwhelming context or environment. Look, that's governments there. You have ceremony, you celebrate things, you do ribbon cutting. Yeah,
but we take it on loan. Mr. Sirleaf, when we go here, we get any car you
ministerial level, a director level, some managing director. That's the job. Go commission that thing. Let's move. We have big heart. We're thinking big. We want to clean this place, give our people opportunities. Your ambition, if it doesn't scare you, we had a president here who said that, right, Madam Sirleaf? If your ambition doesn't scare you, then you're not ambitious enough. Liberia, we're not ambitious enough. Okay, if you take the president, put him in that kind of situation, you have a big ceremony. Look, don't get me wrong, buses are good, transportation is good, but buses do well when the roads are pretty good. They pave, they're nice, buses are air conditioned, you have a good system. Like Cote d'Ivoire right next door to us here. They have good bus network, right? You can sit from Abidjan, you're on the bus, you come to Janane, or you go to any other part of the country, or you go to Accra intercontinentally. So we need that. Okay, our country, once you open up the country and you pave the roads nicely, these buses will do well. But if you don't do that, you don't have the kind of road network, they will break down by next year, because we already have a terrible habit at maintenance culture and not really having a system of maintaining assets and making them, to be in use for a long time. So some of the things you see around here really makes you to question who's thinking for the government. What are they doing?
And talking about big things, Focus on Liberia has a big plan to go to Monrovia and establish a studio like that. I mean, look at me.
There you go.
Studio in Monrovia. That's a big plan that we have, and it's going to happen soon.
Do it. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You can't sit around and say we don't have the money, we don't have the people. Oh, it's an excuse country. That's another culture that we have to disabuse ourselves of around here, Dennis. Look, from the school child to the minister, they all have excuses. Okay, they give you excuses for everything. Oh, the traffic was there, I couldn't come. Oh, I won't be there, I can't come to class. Oh, the traffic is there. Oh, this is happening.
And they tell you after the fact.
Yes, after the fact, they don't have the ethics and to say, look, I'm going to text you to say I'm running 30 minutes late, or I can't be there in an hour or so. No, you sit there, you wait. Look, there's an institution here that called a workshop for 9 a.m. So now 8 a.m. They said it was that early. They wrote a letter, and I don't want to call their name because they wrote a letter that was sounded so urgent. We went down there 8 a.m. We sat down. 9 a.m. two people show up. 10 a.m. nobody was there. The workshop should have started at 8 a.m. Dennis. At 11:30 they start calling me. You're not coming for the program? Where are you? Really? You think you can grow a place like that? with that kind of poor work ethic, that kind of
Yeah.
attitude, just like lackadaisical, do things anyhow, anyway, and because you know, this false sense of self-importance, that's kind of culture we have around here. I'm sorry to say, but you observe things because look, a government is a microcosm of the larger society. Okay, a a government is a reflection of the society. And the same thing, the society is a reflection of the government. So what we're saying is there are some mindset that need to be debunked around here to really get people thinking big for and about their country and get people to work. I mean, people may have good intentions and they're doing their best, but some of these best that we see, they're very marginal. If you
Yeah.
don't plan anything that's not planned and not planned well, it's not planned at all. It's not going to get done. It will not get done properly. You can't just
Thank you.
development is not patchwork. You can't just do haphazardly. You think about this today, you do it tomorrow, you think about that. So the difference we are introducing, coming back to PAP, is look, let's be systematic. People may be laughing about this, but they will be shocked when some of us we're instituting and we're talking about, when people we're talking to, we hope that they will come to fruition and they will begin to convince people just by the action rather than the words that we speak.
The rise in drug abuse, especially among youth, is alarming, Mr. Sirleaf, and you are there. What is
Yeah.
the PAP national strategy to address this crisis?
Then it's drugs, the kind of the drugs that are in the country here, this one they call Kush is a synthetic. From my little study I've done, just looked at and me not knowing anything about that sector, and not claiming any knowledge or expertise in that field at all, but just by reading and looking at what is this menace that tearing our young people apart? What is it? Where is it coming from? Look, this is a combination of multiple addictive substances, opioid that kills people in America is in Kush. Fentanyl that kills people in the West is in Kush. And there are additives, and that one day I was reading about it, it was really alarming, and that they're producing these things in near neighboring countries, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and other places. And so Liberia has become a transit point and a destination, a market. Okay, so you approach this from multiple prongs, right? It's not just okay. So let's work on the rehabilitation end. When you haven't cut up the supply chain, it will keep coming in the country because of some of the mental health challenges we have here, lack of jobs, and level of poverty and education issues that we have here as well. People resort to young people mostly resort to taking this Kush drug that we're talking about. Then this is debilitating. It's ravishing this country. You ought to be here to see it. When I talk about our future, they're on pimping, they're on motorbikes and so on. They're on drug as well. Okay. So what do you do about that? I mean, I began the conversation by saying, look, we're recruiting experts from various fields and sectors so that they can advise us, they can help us to really put some of this vision in action. But from a layman perspective, just thinking about this problem, yes, you work on the rehabilitation side, you train people, build psychiatric hospitals. It's not just rehab, like regular rehab where you carry somebody. You say, when they avoid, they stay away, and then the problem is solved. The problem is not solved. A friend of mine called me from Minnesota recently, and she was crying on the phone. She said, "My cousin is on drug. Do you know a rehab center where she can go?" Those kinds of things, and we see it right here. So what I tell people that these are our people, these are our children, they're our nephews, they're our nieces. They're not those people. The Zogos are not those people. They are us. So the focus ought to be on cutting that supply chain. Maybe having diplomatic conversation to really address the root causes of the problem. If it's coming from Sierra Leone, it's coming from Nigeria and other places, you address that. We have porous borders, long on unprotected border lines around here. It's part of the problems. I heard on the news recently in Grand that they caught a large consignment of drugs that was heading to Mali, but used Liberia as a transit point. Our LDA, Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, they're doing their best. They're doing some drug busts around here, but I read that there are over 800 drug dens in Monrovia alone, Dennis. So there's a market because of the poverty, level of poverty, and the high unemployment. People that you would think are serious people, they're the ones in the drug trade. Okay, so you're fighting on cutting that supply line. You're prosecuting people. You're building a hospital, a psychiatric hospital, and training doctors and mental health and other professionals to deal with that side of things, and then create jobs, create opportunities. It's just a holistic process. When I imagine it, we don't have a plan for it yet, to be honest with you. But you imagine it as an institution, you start thinking, okay, so we ought to study this and really understand the root causes, and then devise some multi-pronged approaches to begin to talk about it. But it's something that we can't be quiet about. You have to raise the issues. You have to talk to the government. You have to talk to civil society. I was very pleased the other time when women got in the street. They said enough is enough. We supported them. We support our PAP, sent a whole contingent of our, PAP women and gender folks. The one that the mobilized people, printed t-shirts, they joined and supported that because it helps to bring awareness to the authorities, but also drug users, families that are impacted, so that they see that they're not alone, that somebody is speaking for them, somebody in society is standing up for them. Okay. So I'm sorry I don't have a sort of specific policy answer to say here's the PAP solution.
I will call you back, and so you can give me more answers. But
okay,
thank you. We try to get some callers. If you want to join the conversation, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And we have less than 10 minutes to close. Mr. Sirleaf, I was watching a show. There was a lady on a sister network, and they had the place I was watching from, there's a lady crushing rats just to feed her family.
Yeah.
And the guest interviewed, she started to cry. She said, the people are just wicked. Why do you look at it? And I'm going to make the presentation later of what I did with the budget. So, but let me give you this one, right? So I look at the president of the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs, everybody there. The amount is 15 million. Then you look at the Office of the Vice President, 3.2 million. National Security, NSA, 22 million. National Security, NSA is equivalent of the FBI, right? For counterintelligence.
Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking, what are you doing with 22 million? But let's look at that, right? And then you look at the National Legislature, 51 million. So then we look at our public sector investment, the one we spent on public sector, is what? 281 million. Of that 281 million, 200 million is coming from the government. The rest from donors, right? So that 200 million, I was looking at it. The one we got from ArcelorMittal, the sign-up bonus is 200 million.
Yeah.
And it's one time. It's one time, right? So let's say, even though they are not telling us that's what we are using, but if you just do a simple thing, it's like, if we didn't have this simple 200 million, we got zero. So tell me, I know you can be very diplomatic with your answers, but are these people serious?
The budget has to shift towards development, Dennis. The budget growth is not, but a budget ceiling, raising budget ceiling to $1 billion, and then put on, sustainable revenue sources that will now come back. And then the budget still shows very high percentage of recurring costs, recurring expenditure That's what I was talking about, them distributing among them, just to run the government. These offices you've named, the the figures there, just indicates that, that's where the priority is, because a country's priority is reflective in a country's budget. What your budget reflects, it speaks volume of your thinking about your country, how whether you are growing your country, whether you're focusing on that public investment we've been talking about. Are you focusing on education? Agriculture was woefully underfunded. Education was woefully underfunded. I think most of the money went to University of Liberia because they've been agitating around here and so on. It's always an ongoing crisis at UL that never ends, right? Even so, the very UL is still under resourced. I have to say, healthcare is under resourced in this budget. Okay, and then social safety net. There's no focus on social safety net in this country. The
Right.
social policy side is all but dead. Okay. Yes, you have the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection. There's a whole ministry that's coordinating that sector. I'm not taking that away from them. But on the policy side, when you look at what are they really doing, where are the priorities? These drug things we're talking about, some of the challenges we see in the urban area of young adults who are basically neglected and high on drugs and abandoned, call them zogos around here. Um, it's terrible, Dennis. I mean, people engage in mob violence. The other issue. There's almost like law enforcement that in some places certain time is non-existent. People show up to investigate after the fact, after somebody's lost their lives. So the problems are complex. Everything here is an urgency, is an emergency that needs to be funded. But you look at the budget, it tells you where the priority lies. That's what's troubling. That's
Thank
what's
you.
troubling to me.
Indeed, that's troubling. Mr. Salih, thank you. I want you to tell me what success looked like for the PAP in the next 5 years.
But I thought you were taking calls and bringing people
There's
in the
no call.
conversation. Okay. So look, in the next 5 years, for a new party that's very bringing some radical agenda and new vision for the country, you want to be able to go beyond that institutional building. You've hired a party, all the legal requirements have been met. You've registered, you have your people in place. Your Bureau for Research Policy Planning is functional. The think tank of the party is working, doing research. You have the Leadership Development Institute of the party that's training people. By the way, that's the major component of our work, our convention, a whole day on training, just focusing on building leaders. Okay, so you want to have your people in place. You have your institution. The various components are functional, and then you are making you are looking for partnerships and relationship at home, in the region, and abroad. At the same time, you are leading nationally a major policy voice in the country, a major actor in the country as you implement the programs of the party. The program area of the party is what we talk about, the pragmatic action orientation and people-centered nature, whether it's in the agriculture sector, whether it's in the youth development sector, whether it's in the manufacturing and job creation, one way or another. You are active, you are there, you are providing leadership, you are a strong voice and providing alternative solutions, not just talking, but really acting so that the people see that you are acting, and engage. Look, a political party is a political party. Dennis, once you're registered, you're functional. There's a by-election today, you can put a candidate up because we're training our people, we're developing the leaders to be ready to lead. You say, okay, look, you run in this district and we'll fund 50% of your campaign. You sign a pledge with your people that you come back, you govern, you'll be a better legislator. The democratic roles of a lawmaker will train you of those things, and that's why you'll be the PAP caucus in the legislature. Our envision will be the most productive, the most progressive caucus in the legislature. Okay, these are the kinds of things that we're thinking about. When there's a national election in rest assured that PAP will fuel a candidate, and we will bring different kind of politics in this country.
Thank you. What happens if first of all, let me, even before I start, because you are good with the diplomacy thing, man. What if you were appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs or Deputy Minister? Where do you take that and leave PAP, or you'll be serving both? What are you going to do if the government calls you today? Because your expertise. So will you be working in the government and also chairing the PAP? That's hypothetical.
Yes, they're hypothetical. You know, I don't do well with hypotheticals.
Try.
I refuse to answer because there's no evidence that that's going to happen. That's not my trajectory. It's like you're looking for a room to rent, and then somebody says, "But why don't you build a house? Here are the resources to build a house." Will you continue looking for the room to rent? You want to own a house so that you have access to multiple rooms. Look, we care about our country. We want to see Liberia uh, transformed in a way that benefits everybody, in a way that helps people to be prosperous and healthy and successful. Okay. I said that PAP is partners in solutions. We're not agitating all kind of thing.
Right.
There's time for everything. This now it's time to focus on our people to say, look, the conditions we see around here, we don't accept them. We don't accept how Liberia looks. We don't accept how our people are suffering and poor and all of that. So yeah, we'll suggest ideas. We advance solutions. We will engage in dialogues if necessary. We will oppose where necessary. These are the kinds of things that I'm just focusing on spending my time on.
Thank you.
I don't want to go into the hypothetical. There's no evidence that will happen, and that's not where my energy, my attention is right now. If
That's
you
fine.
ask me as a Liberian professional, do you have ideas about this? Can you sit around the table? Can you help us solve this problem? Think about that. Yeah, of course. Every Liberian citizen, I said citizenship has obligations, it has rights. So you must exercise both sides of the uh,
Thank you.
citizenship ladder.
Yeah, that's fair. So thank you again, Mr. Salim. Let's get your closing reflections, and that will be, what is your message to Liberians who are disillusioned with politics and unsure whether the PAP is worth believing in?
I'll say thank you for the opportunity, Dennis, to speak to our people, the Liberian people at home and abroad. Let me speak to Liberians abroad briefly, then I'll come speak to Liberians at home and Liberians everywhere else. Liberians abroad, particularly in the United States, in Europe, Canada, Australia, and these Western developed worlds, don't abandon your country. Don't give up on Liberia. Things may be frustrating. You may have tried to do business in this country and they frustrated you. You may have invested your money in this country and they cheated you somewhere, whether the law cheated you, or whether it's some partner or some family member. You can't give up on your country. Liberia will only grow when Liberians at home and abroad work together as one unit, focusing on the country. So if you are a doctor, if you are a nurse, if you are a teacher, if you are an engineer, if you are a social worker, someone who is training, have some kind of skill, whatever that is, or if you don't have any of those at all, but you have connections, you have resources, you have education of some sort, come home. Look to Liberia. It will take you and those at home working together to make Liberia the country you want it to be, the country you would like to see. Because you live in other people's countries. You may be citizen there already, and that's fine. Liberia accept dual citizenship. But your heart is in Liberia as well. Don't neglect where your heart is. Liberians at home, the People's Action Party is a new political party. It's the party of the future. We believe when we begin to implement our programs, you will realize soon, you quickly realize that the future of this country lies with the People's Action Party. Not because Ahmed Sirleaf is saying it, but because you see the action, because you see our vision manifested in front of you. We invite you to join us. We invite you to join us to build an institution that is not about one person, any one particular individual. An institution that's focusing on you, the Liberian people, and that's focusing on the country. So some of the practices of the party may look strange, you're not used to, because that's not how you see political parties do things around here. But that is the point. The old things have not worked. The old way hasn't changed the country. It's produced poverty. It's produced lack of opportunities in this country. Yeah. And so let's do things differently in a way that's pragmatic, that makes sense. Things that have worked in other places, let's bring some of those at home. Let's join hands together and build our country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sirleaf. We hope to see you back. And I don't know, hopefully, we can have more meat on the bones as to what sets the PAP apart and what you're going to do differently.
We're getting there. We're getting there, Dennis. Gradually, it's a long process to register a political party on our law.
I know.
They force you to stop as you go, to stop as you go, so you can't jump ahead of yourself. There's some of the things I'm saying here as futuristic for that reason.
Mm-hmm. It should. I mean, it look like you're enjoying this chairman business because you're shining.
Well, it's not about me. It's about really, where my heart is. It frustrates me to see my country the way it is, to see my people, the conditions in which that they're in. We believe that we can do something about it in our lifetime by the grace of God, and it's our intention to do something about
it. Thank you, and again, we appreciate your time. On behalf of all of us here at Focus on Labrador, we say thank you very much. I want to thank our viewers for watching. On this note, we close with a song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night. God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.